This is the Angels POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels POSTCAST. Coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game, including 3 straight losses in a row, right here live on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever the heck you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson, former credentialed journalist in the LA area, spent 4 years covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin, now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Our team is the Angels, and the Angels are officially, in case there's anybody who is still waiting to say it, if 12-1 yesterday wasn't enough, then certainly the first sweep in a while, right? You know, the Angels have lost just about every series this month other than the Dodgers series, but now we finally get the cherry on top in terms of going in the wrong direction. A sweep here at the hands of the Cubs at a Big A that was full of a bunch of Cubs fans. Obviously, we don't play them very often, don't host them very often. And not only did they have a lot of fans, but they had a lot of success. 4-3 the final today. A close game, a coin flip game. It's what you want to see. You know, and we'll talk about why it's important that it was a close game. Certainly some new faces on the roster, some new faces in the starting lineup. We'll get to all of that and why these games are important. I know it feels like the worst thing ever, and I'm right there with you. This is the worst couple of weeks of the season because it's just a slow death. You know, we're slowly bleeding out as a team, as a fan base in 2025, but you got to change the mindset. There's things we're going to look at, and we'll discuss it all. First and foremost, shout out to everybody in here. Appreciate you guys, as always, sticking with me, even on a Sunday in the middle of the day, even after a sweep like this one. And without further ado, let's get to it. We're not going with America's favorite segment. This is what I'm going to be talking about.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Make it meaningful. That's what I say right here. And what do I mean by that? I know it's become a meme. It's become a joke. It's become a laughing stock statement phrase, just like really competitive is a laughing statement at this point, an ironic, embarrassing statement. And I know when our GM says, let's have meaningful baseball for as long as possible, it's a meme. It's frustrating, especially, you know, knowing where we were at the deadline and what happened there and what has transpired since then. But I want to start tonight's show or today's show by reminding everybody what the goal was coming into the season, right? Because if you were watching since the first show of this season, if you were watching last season, this show, one thing that I have said consistently, and obviously you're going to say it last year when the season was over before it even started, but I've been consistent the whole time. I know the meaningful baseball phrase is frustrating when it's coming from the GM and, you know, you see the things that he's done and knowing how ownership has played a role in that. But it's kind of what I've been saying for the last year and a half or season and a half is let's play meaningful baseball for as long as possible. And so I watched this game today. And of course, yes, the Angels lose the ball game. You know, a majority of the lineup still doesn't play well. You know, Mike Trout can't hit a baseball right now. Travis d'Arnaud continues a, you know, streak of 1 billion games in a row now where we're getting absolutely no offensive production from the catcher position, whether it's him or Logan O'Hoppe. We see a couple new guys come in and unfortunately not contribute that much, but we also see some encouraging things. But when I watch this game, it's hard not to remember what the mindset was coming into this season. It was, we're not going to be great. We're not going to be a playoff team, but let's be good for as long as we can in the season. And let's also be as good for as long as we can in every single ball game. Right. And so while it hurts that you lose 4-3, it's a coin flip loss. When you look at what happened yesterday, when you lose 12-1, and when you could have turned it off midway through the game, and you've got Oswald Peraza on the mound, and you've got nobody even trying on the field, that is the worst case scenario, right? At least today, you saw what you kind of were expecting to see in late August when the season started, right? When the season started, If you would have said, hey, the Angels are going to be, less than 10 games under 500, playing a 4-3 ball game against the Cubs, headed into the 7th inning after scoring 2 runs in the 6th to make it close. You've got young guys in the lineup that you're trying to see what they're about. I would say, okay, that's kind of what I expect, right? That's kind of what we expected coming in. And so certainly it doesn't feel like it. It feels underwhelming. It feels a lot more disappointing when this team started the season the way they did. When this team has shown the flashes and the upside the way they have. When the Angels had a trade deadline that they had where they acted like they were going to compete, right? With all that context, it sucks. Man, it sucks that we're turning into the moral victory postcast. I don't want to be the moral victory postcast. I want to be the actual victory postcast. And for the first half of the season, at least 50% of the time, we were the actual victory postcast. But I'd rather have the moral victory postcast than the 12-1 defeat yesterday where no one even wants to be here postcast. And so that's what we got today. We had some encouraging performances, and I hinted at it the last couple of shows, but the mindset of the franchise, the fan base, this postcast, the viewers, everybody, it unfortunately has to shift a little bit. We're back to looking to next year. We're back to saying, let's finish the season strong. Let's have a respectable end of the year. Let's be competitive. Let's see what happens each game, each inning, go pitch by pitch, especially with these young guys, so we can be feeling a little bit better about next season. And fortunately, we've had a lot of encouraging things. God, I sound like the Moral Victory Postcast right now. I'm trying not to be. I'm pissed off right now. But like I said, when the Dodgers sweep happened, did I think that Dodgers sweep meant the Angels were going to make a postseason run? No. But what I did think that Dodgers sweep did is show that when the team plays with the utmost intensity, when the pressure gets high, when the lights get bright, when the opponents are strong, this team, whether it's now or in a year or in 2 years, when that's going to happen during the postseason, whenever it is, whenever we finally get back there, we have shown that we can be competitive and respectable in those situations. And so now it's about every single day, every single game, every single player that's under the age of 30-something, right? Having positive steps so that we can get to that promised land of the playoffs next season and not 4 years from now. And it's frustrating because the trade deadline would have been a great opportunity to accelerate the rebuild by getting rid of a Kenley and getting rid of a Taylor Ward and maybe even getting rid of, a Tyler Anderson if you could get anything for him, right? It would have helped. It would have helped. But still, I at least like seeing the lineup today where I know Nico Cavadas, he's not going to be the future of the Angels at first base or anything, but I'd rather see Nico Cavadas go 0 for 2 than watch, Jorge Soler go 0 for 2, right? I'd rather watch Christian Moore go 1 for 4, but unfortunately strike out in the big moment. I'd rather see Bryce Teodosio go 1 for 4, but unfortunately strike out in the big moment. Because at least in a week from now, in 2 weeks from now, in a month from now, in a season from now, when Bryce T comes up with 2 on and 2 out, when Christian Moore comes up with 2 on and 1 out, they won't be striking out. They'll be at least making contact, or maybe coming through with the game-tying hit, or maybe have the walk-off 2 RBI extra base hit because of what they faced tonight or today and the rest of the season, right? So that's unfortunately how we have to look at things. And I know a lot of people are talking about Mike Trout. Cat Soup says, I have no hope for next year with Trout on this team. Until he's off the team and already is gone, we are cursed. I guarantee we won't be over 500 until then. Trout, it feels more and more like he's slowly crumbling as well. It certainly does. But it is not fair to group those two. I certainly see a scenario where Neto, Shawnuel, Adele, maybe still Taylor Ward, hopefully Christian Moore by next year, maybe Logan O'Hoppe finds something again by next year, maybe Rengifo is a little bit better by next year. I see a scenario where Mike Trout is hitting 6th or 7th and the Angels are competitive. Right? I don't think it's fair to group Artie and Trout in the same scenario in any way. Artie has helped this team nothing, in no way. He's hurt this team. Trout has helped this team in more ways than most players in franchise history, right? And I would love a scenario where Trout is not hitting 3rd, or in this case 2nd, and Trout is hitting 5th or 6th. And an 800 OPS, by the way, still a over 800 OPS, still the second highest OPS on the team, by the way. By the way, if that's hitting sixth, I'm fine with that. I really am fine with that. So I don't think it's fair to say, Cat Soup, that Trout is cursed. I don't think it's fair to say that he's in the same group as Artie, right? But certainly, if there was any doubt about this team this season, any doubt about Trout this season, there's no doubt. The Halos have left, zero doubt. The season is over. Trout season is over. But it's not over for a lot of these young guys. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more after our break. We'll actually tell you what the heck happened in this ball game, and we'll talk about the young guys a little bit more because I want to talk about them because that's what it's going to be the rest of the year. I'm going to have a microscope on these young guys. So we're going to do that after our break here on the Locked On Angels POSTCAST. Now, on this Sunday, this unfortunately third straight losing game Sunday, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Man, oh man, I don't love the Angels right now, but I do love Prize Picks. It's the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up. In fact, it's just about over, and college football isn't far behind. In fact, it's already started. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. College football underway. Very excited that there's more and more college football lines on Prize Picks. Of course, they're going to have everything in the NFL. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. And today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is 2 days away, folks. And that's officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, on August 26th, FanDuel's giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. My flyer for MVP, it's not Justin Herbert anymore after that Rashawn Slater injury. It's Joe Burrow. I'm sticking with it. I think he's going to have an unbelievable year. I think the defense is going to be even worse for them, but the offense is going to be better, and he's going to get a lot of credit for it. There's also a lot of, recency bias and, the longing for a new MVP after Josh Allen now and Lamar and Mahomes. They've already all gotten it. I could see it being Burrow since he's never gotten one. So in 2 days from now, whether it's making your MVP bet or anything else, visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is 1 day and 1 day only. FanDuel, play your game. Back here live on another losing edition of the Locked On Angels POSTCAST. Cubs 4, Angels 3. Angels fall with a sweep to 61-69, 8 games under 500. The question going into yesterday was how many games would the Angels win? I had them going, I believe, 13-20 in their last 33. Well, they are 0 for 1. They're 61-69, officially 130 games into the season. And again, at the beginning of the season, if you said the Angels were 61-69 after 130 games, I'd say, yeah, sounds about right. If you said that we'd be looking at Nico Cavadas and Matthew Lugo and Christian Moore and Bryce Teodosio in the lineup, I'd say, yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about what you would want to do when you are not going to win this year. But of course, knowing how everything transpired the past couple of months, it certainly hurts a little bit more than it would have coming into the season. Let's talk about what the heck happened in this game, because I keep starting big picture because I don't know how you cannot. Taylor Ward hits his 30th home run of the season, a career high 30 home runs for him. As much as I wanted him gone just because of the guys you can get for him and how I feel like he's not really the exact need we, on this team, it has been a heck of a season for Taylor Ward. There's no other way to put it. 30 home runs, been arguably our best hitter this season. And he starts things off right away in the bottom of the first. You start off up 1-0. And it was good to see that, because you're like, okay, this is not going to be a 12-1 defeat. This is going to be a game where the Angels are in it, playing competitive, at least making it a close game where it's going to be meaningful. There we go. We're going to keep saying that word for as long as possible. Now, unfortunately, Kyle Tucker, who came into the series not playing well, is having a heck of a series. Another RBI for him. He had home runs galore in this series, and now he gets an RBI single there in the top of the third. Then Nico Horner hits a 2-run shot a two-bagger, an RBI double to score Ian Happ to make it 2-1. Those both coming off of Kyle Hendricks, who did not have a horrible outing. Let's be honest. 4 1/3 innings pitched, 3 walks, which is frustrating to me. Again, Kyle Hendricks, you don't have the strikeout stuff. You don't have the crazy velocity. You got to have control. You can't be walking 3 guys. Unfortunately, he does. Gives up 5 hits as well. Gives up 4 runs. Of course, those were 2 of them. The top of the 5th being the final dagger for him, as he gives up a RBI single, or not an RBI single, excuse me. He gives up a single to Seiya Suzuki. That makes it a whole bunch of trouble. And then it's an RBI from Carson Kelly that really was the dagger, scoring Kyle Tucker. That made it 4-1 off Andrew Chafin, who came in for Kyle Hendricks. But a 2-run 5th, a run in the 4th, a run in the 3rd, and that 1-0 deficit or lead quickly became a 4-1 deficit. Now, it wasn't immediately in the bottom of the 5th, but still the answer back Angels do show some life with a 2-run bottom of the 6th. And again, it's Taylor Ward with an RBI double that scores Zach Neto. And then Rengifo gets lucky, right? An error by Dansby Swanson allows Taylor Ward to score, makes it 4-3, but unfortunately, the Angels had nothing left. Bottom of the 9th got really interesting. Leadoff single from Rengifo. You love to see that. Unfortunately, d'Arnaud strikes out looking. Moncada walks to make it 1st and 2nd, but then back-to-back strikeouts from the 2 young guys, Christian Moore and Bryce Teodosio, to end the ball game. Now, again, like I said before the break, I do like, even though they both strike out, I really do like the fact that we get to see Christian Moore come up with 2 on and 1 out in the bottom of the 9th. And let's not forget, he's already come through in the clutch before this season. I love that Bryce T comes up with a chance with 2 on and 2 out in the bottom of the 9th. Unfortunately, he doesn't come through either, but they are going to learn from these moments. We see Matthew Lugo get called up today. I still think there's a scenario where Matthew Lugo can contribute to this team this season, maybe even next year, right? Nico Cavadas comes up. I don't really see it as much for him. First base is obviously pretty set with Nolan Shinerwell as well, but I get it. You got to give Shinerwell the day off. Only 1 walk today. Only 9 strikeouts today, 7 hits today. Really just an average game from the Angels. Let's be honest. Average in just about every way. And coming off yesterday, we'll take average, unfortunately. That's how things are for us. But I am going to hope that Christian Moore is not sitting for a single game the rest of the season unless he needs a day off. I'm hoping Bryce T does not sit for the rest of the season unless he needs a day off. And then, of course, I honestly would like Joe Adell to play every game unless there's a day off. If there is a day off, then I would love to see Lugo get thrown in right field, or dare I say my boy Karen Paris get thrown in right field, right? Yes, Nolan Shinerwell on the injured list, and so it's going to get interesting in terms of filling his spot. But yeah, I mean, would like to see some variety in the outfield other than Bryce T staying in center. I get it, Taylor Ward's having a great year, and you want him to play every game, but maybe give him the occasional day off, see a ball game where we see Bryce T and Lugo in the outfield with Joe Adell, or a game where we see, Bryce T with Ward, with Lugo in right or something. Maybe get Kyron Paris back up here as well, in my opinion. But Cavadas, I get it. He's filling in for Shinerwell. That's not going to be a thing long-term at all. The catcher position, again, d'Arnaud is there to be a backup for Ohapi. The problem is Ohapi's been so awful that you need a d'Arnaud to contribute, and he's not doing that at this point in Big 2025. Thought the bullpen was quite encouraging, right? Chafin obviously was an acquisition at the deadline, but Chase Silseth back on the Angels, a nice scoreless inning for him despite 2 hits and a walk. Brock Burke, a scoreless inning. He quietly has a 2.75 ERA. Zephyr John, I know he has been brutal, but he does have a scoreless inning there. And then Fermin, who has been unfortunately not great as of late, he has a scoreless inning as well, right? So not to be Mr. Moral Victory guy here, but if you can tell me that Christian Moore is going to have a base hit, Bryce T is going to have a base hit, Joe Adell's going to have a base hit, and you're going to get meaningful at-bats for Moore and Teodosio, and, Neto still shows something, Ward still shows more than something, and a couple young guys in the bullpen, Silseth, Burke, and Zephyr John and Fermin all specifically play well as well. You'll take that. You'll take that. So, like I said here, make it meaningful, meaning keep these games close. As much as we loved coin flip games in the past because it meant the Angels were probably going to win, another 1-run game lost now. The coin flip magic is gone. That's why it's called a coin flip. We're regressing to the mean. That's what it's supposed to be. But I'm still begging for coin flip games because it means meaningful baseball late into the game, late into the season, as corny and frustrating as it sounds. So with all that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Shout out to everybody in here. Again, appreciate it. Coming off a frustrating sweep that a lot of you guys are still in here. We're going to be on Young Guy Prospect Watch for the rest of the season. Really would love to see Matthew Lugo get a start. Would love to see Kyron Paris get called up. Would love to see Chase Silseth get some innings, right? And Fermin be better, and Brock Burke be better, and Kavadas maybe contribute. But Bryce T and Christian Moore, I want them in the lineup every single ball game. So hopefully we're going to see that going forward. Obviously, an AL West road trip coming up. 3 games in Texas, or 6 games in Texas, but 3 against the Rangers, 3 in Houston against the Astros, with that break on Thursday in between. People saying, maybe do we throw in Detmers in the rotation? That would be interesting. I don't really want to see it, to be honest, because if he was still playing lights out, then maybe you could justify it. He's kind of been struggling as of late, but we'll see. Mihoko's talked about Caden Dana and Johnson. And yes, I know Kyron Paris is hurt, but if I remember correctly, it's not anything serious, and he should be back. I might be wrong, though. Correct me if I am wrong. But, I want to see those guys as much as possible. Cat Soup says he's a big fan of Bryce T. Chimkin says he's a big fan of Lugo. I personally think Lugo was given a short leash. I still think Kyron Paris was kind of given a short leash, and this is the time where you give these guys longer leashes, and that's what we want to see. But take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your Sunday. I'll see you back here tomorrow night, hopefully after a win, hopefully after a game where the young guys play well. Let's do that. All right, have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Keep your heads up. Don't let this team dictate your happiness, and going.